is Jonathan Dubin. Jonathan will also be giving his icebreaker, his first speech. And he also wants to tell us about himself in some fashion so we can get to know him better. He has entitled his presentation, "The Power of Persistence in the Face of Adversity." He'll be speaking from 4 to 6 minutes, Madam Timer. Again, let's welcome Jonathan Dubin, "The Power of Persistence in the Face of Adversity."
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. My name is Jonathan Boyce Dubin, and I'm a cardiologist at Sinai Hospital. I heal broken hearts for a living. For my icebreaker talk today, I'd like to talk first of all about how I became a doctor, and then I'd like to talk about what I think is the single most important quality that has enabled me to get where I am today. I believe that quality is the power of persistence in the face of adversity. I believe I inherited this quality from my parents, particularly my mother. My mother was a force of nature. My mother was born in 1929 in Boston. She ran away from home at age 16 to escape her abusive father. She came to New York, where she met my father, and then became involved in community politics. She was the campaign manager for Shirley Chisholm, who was the first African-American woman elected to Congress. At age 40, my mother went back to school and got her high school equivalency diploma, and then went on to get her college degree in social work. And she worked for years as a social worker, but that wasn't her dream job. Her dream was to become a doctor. She realized that she couldn't attain that dream for herself, so she decided that she was going to live that dream through me. So, as early as I could remember, my mother would encourage me, and some might say obsessively push me to become a doctor. Of course, I didn't want any part of that. I rebelled. When I was in high school, I excelled in math and science, and I won a scholarship for electrical engineering to Columbia University in New York. This was 1974. After my second year of college, I did some volunteer work at a local hospital, mostly at the insistence of my mother. She was very persistent. And what I saw when I was working in the hospital both amazed me and repulsed me at the same time. I was amazed at the heroic efforts of doctors to keep people alive, particularly with the primitive technology that was available at that time. I imagined what it would be like to use some of the engineering technologies I was learning about in school to help these people. Also, at the same time, I was repulsed by all the blood and all the horrible smells and the bodily fluids. I became terrified at the idea that one day I myself could become sick and helpless like these people and have to depend on some stranger to figure out what was wrong with me. So for both those reasons, both intellectual and selfish, I decided I was going to become a doctor. So I finished my engineering degree and I applied to medical school. I was fortunate enough to be accepted to Harvard Medical School. My first semester of medical school almost ended in disaster. I remember my first week I had 5 courses, and each one of those courses had a 1,000-page syllabus. And these books were filled with words I had never seen before. I had never done anything like this in engineering school. I never had to read or memorize this much. I was completely overwhelmed. I thought it was an impossible task. And quite frankly, I was ready to quit. I was ready to give up. But I decided not to quit. I talked to some of the upperclassmen, and I realized that these people weren't that much smarter than I was. So I figured if they could do it, it couldn't be impossible, so I could do it too. So I taught myself some speed reading techniques, and I became more organized and efficient, and I learned how to do the work. So I finished my medical school training, and then I began my internship at New York Hospital, Cornell Medical Center. I'll never forget my first day of internship. It was myself and 2 other young doctors, and the senior resident came up to us with a list of 25 patients. And I looked at the list and I said, "Oh, is this the list for all 3 of us?" And he said, "No, Dr. Dubin, this is your list." So here I was, straight out of medical school, and I was suddenly responsible for the lives of 25 people with complex medical problems. I was completely stunned. It was a very stressful situation. I thought I couldn't do it. I wanted to quit again. But I didn't quit. I didn't quit for 3 reasons. First of all, I again realized that other doctors had done this before, so it couldn't be an impossible task. Secondly, I didn't want to disappoint my mother. And thirdly, and probably most importantly, I had thousands of dollars in medical school loans, so quitting was just not an option. So I became more organized and efficient, and by the end of the year, 25 patients, 30 patients, 50 patients, no problem. So I finished my training in medicine, and then I went on to my specialty training in cardiology. And right away I became interested in a field called echocardiography, which is the use of ultrasound to diagnose problems in the heart. It's the same technology that's used to see the babies inside the mother's womb. And I realized that this technology was a natural fit for my engineering and medical background. So I became, I went with training, one of the experts in the field, and I finished my training in 1990, and then came to Baltimore. In the last 10 years, I've been here in Baltimore, and I've been director of ultrasound imaging at Sinai Hospital, and we've helped thousands of patients with this technology with heart problems. So in summary, I believe that the power of persistence in the face of adversity has helped me get to where I am today. And I would encourage all of you to adopt this quality to meet your goals. Because when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're walking seems all uphill, when your funds are low, but your debts are high, when you want to smile, but you have to cry, when stress is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is strange with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a person turns about when they may have won if they stuck it out. Don't you quit, though the pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Often a struggler has given up when they might have captured the victor's cup, but they learned too late when the sun went down how close they were to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things are the worst that you mustn't quit.
Okay, we've had our second speaker and second event, icebreaker.